This week on the WriterCon podcast,
clarity of your why. Writing can be tough. Marketing and publishing can be tough. So knowing what is your inspiring purpose, your mission, so that keeps you going and keeps you focused.
welcome to WriterCon, a gathering place for writers to share their knowledge about writing and the writing world. Do you have a desire to write? Every successful writer started with their first book. All it takes is determination and knowledge, and WriterCon can provide that knowledge. Your hosts are #1 national best-selling writer William Bernhardt, author of more than 60 books, including The Superman Wars, and Lara Bernhardt, award-winning author of the Wantland Files series and Shadow of the Taj.
Thank you, Jesse Ulrich. Hey, writers, thanks for joining us today. Everyone on this podcast has been really busy since the last time we recorded a podcast, right? I'm getting ready, doing PR prep for the Superman Wars. And yesterday, literally, as we record it, yesterday, I saw the first early review for the Superman Wars and I loved it. And what a coincidence. I just happened to have it here. Bernhardt uses narrative nonfiction to tell Siegel's story, presenting the facts in the form of a story. This really works to put the reader into the events as they unfold. I have no modesty, obviously, but I had to share that. Is that cool or what?
Absolutely.
Very cool.
I mean,
Love it.
Every other reviewer may disagree from here on out, but at least I've got one, so I can rest easy. And Jesse, you just got back from a big cruise, right?
I did. I got back from my 5th trip on the Star Trek cruise. I've now officially been assimilated.
Did you get a jacket or something?
No, I got a small Borg mask. And
you really were assimilated.
Cool. Yes, and a little. It's called the Cruise Collective pin. And apparently, now
hilarious.
that I've been assimilated, there are like special events and merch that I'll get on future cruises. So,
they'll have you going back
really
forever.
Clever.
yeah, honestly, I'd prefer if we were graduating from Starfleet Academy instead of being assimilated. But I get it. So, so that
you
was
just
fun.
want all that CW teen drama.
Listen, there were some of the actors in that show were on. They literally wrapped on Saturday. Got on a puddle jumper to catch up to the ship. The woman who plays the cadet master, the half Klingon, half Jem Hadar was on there, and as well as the sort of the lead woman who is a Betazoid. Those are the two, as well as Tiny Newsome, who's on Lower Decks and a writer on Starfleet Academy. Were on the ship.
That's a commitment.
Yeah. It was they seemed to have a great time. The younger actors were a little worried. All the older actors were like, "No, this is great. Like you're gonna go to a place where you're beloved."
Yeah.
And it's true.
You can't go wrong.
Yes.
Lots of love. Our interview today is with Carol Van Den Hande. Carol is the author of 4 books in the increasingly inaccurate Goodbye Orchid trilogy. We teased her about this. You'll hear it later. Because now there's a 4th book. See, it's a prequel. So there's 4 books in the trilogy. We'll call it the Goodbye Orchid series. How about that? These are lovely books filled with heartfelt emotion intended to, among other things, increase empathy for those with disabilities. We will talk to Carol about all that and more. But first, the news. News story number 1, Bookstreaming becomes a fad on Twitch. Just in case you don't know, because I didn't until I found this story, Bookstreaming is exactly what it sounds like. Someone's reading a book aloud to you on Twitch. This fad was started by Kai Cenat. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing your name, Kai, who was Twitch's #1 streamer. During marathon gameplay, sometimes he'd have streams that went on for 30 days. Well, he did that for a while. He dropped out for a while. Then he returned to stream something else, books. He dived first into self-help books, reading them aloud with a 20-minute timer set. He doesn't repronounce or pronounce everything correctly, just as I don't. He takes breaks sometimes to look up words he doesn't understand. But you know, it seems very honest and very real, and he's capturing all that on the camera. He's being vulnerable. It's, some people say, an honest reading journey, and they've praised him. And of course, once one person who's really popular already does something successfully, others will follow his lead. And so we've now got all these people on Twitch, where you normally see people streaming Lara Croft or whatever. Instead, they're reading books to you. Laura, does this seem like a good idea to you?
Well, I love reading books out loud.
Yeah.
And now that our kids are all grown, I don't really have a captive audience to read
You could get a
anymore.
Twitch channel.
So maybe I could. Actually, it does appeal. It sounds exciting. The one thing that worries me about it is, I get very worried about, like, he's talking about being open and vulnerable and just capturing even the mistakes and everything. And I do get very flustered when I stumble on things. I'd probably rather just record it and go. But then again, I have stage experience, and sometimes you just have to go with what happens and keep on. You can't quit.
Stumbling or looking up words too much when you're reading. Just my hunch. Wouldn't be necessary. Jesse, I know you listen to audiobooks. You think you'd ever tune into this?
Not only would I tune in, I'm thinking about doing this. This sounds fun.
It sounds fun.
You and Laura are both going to do it.
Because one, I do mispronounce. Like, the thing I learn when going from reading a book, especially fantasy books, reading a book to listening to it, is that I get all of the names of people, places, and things wrong. And I would like people to and I like fighting over the fact that I am doing it wrong. I just stick to it. And so that would be fun. And also, I naturally, as I get excited about something, especially if I'm reading it aloud, get faster. And it'd be interesting to see if people can actually keep up with it. And then, especially if I was doing, some of my very long Brandon Sanderson books, I'd be Twitch streaming for a long time, even if I did it.
You could go 30 days. Yeah.
Yeah, I could go 30 easy. So yeah, that'd be fun. Who doesn't like being read to? There's something beautifully nostalgic and heartfelt and warming about being read to. So yeah, honestly, as soon as you said it, I'm like, why did it take so long for this to happen?
Yes, it does.
Because they're all
like
playing.
A idea.
Not Lara Croft, whatever video games are being played this century, but I know they're
a lot of Halo, a lot of
there you go. Harry, my son Harry, has a Twitch channel, and he does a lot of the older video games. That's his niche. Anyway, okay. News story number 2. Bindery Books uses, in my notes, I wrote SM influencers, which sounds like a totally different thing. I'm talking about social media influencers.
I was like, is there a B missing there?
Yes. Bindery Books uses social media influencers to pick their books. Yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. Bindery Books, which is a relatively young company, though one founded by publishing veterans, they are using social book influencers as acquiring editors to, champion underrepresented authors and build reader engagement, because who knows better than these influencers? So basically, they've given each of them their own imprint and say, you go find books you'd like, you'd read, or your followers will read. And instead of doing traditional PR things, they have the book influencers who acquired the books in the first place do it, because they're the experts, right? And it seems to be working pretty darn well. They currently have 12 imprints that are helmed by each of them by a different book influencer, or as the publisher's now calling them, tastemakers. Okay, either one of you, do you follow book influencers? Does this seem like a good idea?
I don't follow any. I don't have any trouble finding books that I
my
want
niece
to
Barbie
read,
is one. Remember, we've looked at it's Manderley something or another.
Oh,
like
yes,
Manderley
Dreams of Manderley.
Yes, like
Dreams
in Rebecca. Barbie Lorenz, shout out. But that's the only book influencer I know. Jesse, how about you?
So here's the thing. I don't know who they are, but like on my Facebook video feed, when I get sucked into that for 20 minutes once a day, there's occasionally, and they're usually dudes, but there's been a couple women as well, where they just sort of like go through lists of like fantasy series that they really like. And most of the time, I know half of them and have already read them. But every once in a while, I'm like, that one's new. I'm going to check that one out. But I don't know who they are. And I don't follow them. But I do see how this could work. Again, the whole book talk sensation. This is like monetizing and professionalizing that sort of idea. And we do, if you're not in the literary world, you do have to get recommendations from somewhere. Right. Whether it's going to Barnes and Noble and looking at covers, or talking to people or listening to people who you think live a better life than you. So it's even though they don't, and their lives are probably actually quite miserable. They're telling you this book might be good, and there's no harm in trying that. So I don't think this is a bad idea. It's just a way of reacting to, I think, the market as it is now.
Yep, you make a very fair point that we are within the literary world, and we have the opportunity to speak to so many authors, and we hear about so many books. We get those recommendations already without needing to go look elsewhere, but not everybody has that available to them. So I'm definitely not knocking it. I love anything that encourages people to read more, helps connect them with books that they will enjoy. So
I think if I understand this correctly, these social media influencers are given the ability to find authors and then get those authors signed to this publishing company. Is that how this works? Or
yeah, I think so. That's the
very cool.
I think that's better than the way social media influencers sort of with the book talk model, where they just talk about books that are already out for authors who could already have sort of their own marketing. This is a way to grow the amount of authors out there. And I find that to be positive if it works the way it's supposed to.
This time for Craft Corner, we have a very good friend of WriterCon, Betsey Kulakowski, the author of now 8 books in the Veritas Codex series, the most recent being The Sultan's Stone. This time she's going to talk to you about building dread.
Craft Corner.
Hi, everyone. This is author Betsey Kulakowski, best-selling author of the Veritas Codex Paranormal Thriller series and the Manifest Destiny series, and I'm here with today's Craft Corner. I'm an author who writes in and along the edges of the horror genre, and I constantly struggle with how to write an antagonist in a way that keeps the reader turning the page despite their fear. It's not as easy as splashing some blood on a scene and just hoping for the best. What I've learned is that nothing keeps the pages turning more than a good hearty dose of dread. I spent a lot of time studying the greats like Dean Koontz and Stephen King to see how they made me uncomfortable. What did they show and what did they do to make me feel anxious? And I realized something in my research is they often wait until it's almost too late to show you their monster. Who remembers the movie Jaws? The shark isn't shown every time primarily because the mechanical shark didn't work, but that doesn't mean you don't know it's there. Instead, Steven Spielberg had to rely heavily on other unseen cues to clue the viewer into the fact that the shark is coming. These sudden, intense, unseen attacks created a paralyzing fear that still has me terrified to go in the water today. So, how can writers accomplish the same thing? Well, here's a few tricks. First of all, make sure that your characters are someone your readers genuinely care about. Readers might actually end up cheering for the villain if they don't like the character in danger, and that's not what we hope to accomplish here. Readers tend to like characters that are relatable, vulnerable, and human. They don't have to be perfect. Instead, readers can relate better if the character is flawed, because we all are. Instead of describing the monster, focus on the physical manifestation of the psychological effects of terror in your characters. That sudden chill, goosebumps on the flesh, the gasping for air, the racing heart, that uncontrolled trembling. And then allow the reader's minds to fill the gaps. Too often, I only refer to the monster as that thing. It makes it something so horrible that the characters can't even find the right words within their paradigm to describe it. Seeing a relatable character's panic makes the threat feel real and imminent. Play on all the senses. Writers can use sound and smell, hearing, taste, everything like that to create audiovisual cues for the reader. And symbolism can speak volumes. In the movie Jaws, the yellow barrels signaled the shark's presence, and yellow is a color that creates a warning. If you see it in a book or film, keep an eye on it. Symbolic cues carry a weight that requires the reader to interpret their significance within the context of your story. It's the questions that readers want answers to that keeps them turning the page. So build suspense by slowing down time. In thrillers, we tend to write short clip sentences to drive the action. However, when the danger is real, I like to use long, complex sentences to drag out those moments of anticipation, then switch to a short, punchy sentence when the threat finally strikes. As a reader, I hate red herrings when they're not well done or too tropey. However, as a writer, I try to use several red herring moments to make the reader expect danger that turns out to be something more innocuous. This conditions the reader into remaining on edge and making the actual encounter much more impactful. Fear is heightened when there's no chance for escape. Create anticipation by leaving your characters alone with no hope of rescue. Let the reader in on what's happening before the characters know. This creates a sensation that amplifies the audience's dread. I remember when we saw Jaws in the theater when I was a kid, and I remember people yelling at the screen, "There's the shark is coming, look out." I was 7 when I saw that movie, and I still remember how the audience reacted. I also like to make the unusual unsettling. There's nothing more dangerous than the familiar when it's behaving strangely. Author Monique Snyman puts it best. Dread lives in the spaces between certainty and confusion. By writing around the monster rather than showing it, you can tap into that universal fear of the unknown. Dread should be a slow burn that starts with a bump in the dark. It's the truth your character is not ready to acknowledge. Gore is easy. Dread is hard. Dread doesn't rely on shock or gore. It plays on the imagination and genuine emotion. So go for the heart and let the reader squirm. Dread isn't what you show, it's what you don't. See you all next time.
Thank you, Betsey Kulakowski. Now let's talk to Carol Van Den Hande. Carol Van Den Hande, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
So glad to have you here. All right, traditional first question. If you could offer writers one piece of advice, what would it be?
Clarity of your why. Writing can be tough. Marketing and publishing can be tough. So knowing what is your inspiring purpose, your mission, so that keeps you going and keeps you focused. And there's a very simple question writers can ask themselves. What is the reason I do what I do beyond the obvious profit or functional purposes? And it's a layered question to really try to get to your true why.
Nice.
Nice. Tell us how, and I know I'm well aware that you do many things, but tell us how you got started writing.
I started writing as a place of solace for myself during a difficult time in our family, and I was inspired by stories of wounded veterans. And that's what created the impetus to craft this character, Phoenix Walker, who suffers injuries similar to that of wounded veterans. And it allows me to shine a light on characters with disabilities. I initially thought I was writing for myself, but when I joined a critique group and was able to bring a table full of authors to tears with the storyline and with my writing, I started to pursue the path of publication.
That's very inspiring. I like how you talk about it was a source of solace for you, because my actual first book was written the same way. I actually wrote pieces of it while I was in like OR waiting rooms, or things, something that I could have control over, and it would also kind of take me away from some of the difficulties that I was going through at the time. So is that kind of what happened with Goodbye Orchid? Is that you were going through some of the same issues, or you had someone that who was going through some issues?
Yeah, there were issues in our family with one of our sons, and the writing did give me so much solace. What's been so rewarding since then, and you've probably found this with your writing as well, is I love those times that readers tell me that the storytelling also brings them solace, deepens their empathy.
Absolutely.
I've had readers tell me, because of the injuries that my main character Phoenix faces, that it has actually changed the way they think about people with disabilities.
Oh, wow.
One woman said she was on a blind date with a guy who told her that he had a prosthetic leg, and she decided in that moment not to see him again, that she couldn't deal with it. But now, after reading Goodbye Orchid, she said she would have made a different decision if she could go back in time.
Changing the world. That's the best kind of feedback. Absolutely.
Yeah, on your website, you talk about your work as stories for good. I assume, is this more or less what you're talking about?
Yeah, that is a tagline that I have the trademark, actually, Stories for Good.
Oh, wow.
Good
Because
work.
I do believe storytelling can do good in the world, puts us in other people's shoes. There are studies that say that writing is the thing that connects readers to authors in a way that's neurological. They've done MRI scans, and the same places that light up in a writer's brain when they're writing a scene are the same places that light up in a reader's brain. It is about as close as you can get to a brain-to-brain connection. So what a lovely gift
Interesting.
to have out in the
Yeah.
world, and literature truly connects us.
That's fantastic. Now, you've also done a great deal of public speaking. How did you get started doing that?
In my day job, I certainly do speak on behalf of the ethics of AI. Is actually my day job, the responsible AI.
Okay.
And so I've had careers in marketing and strategy and insights, as well as digital transformation. And so I found when I joined the writer community that a lot of writers come for the love of the written word, but they don't realize they also need to be business people and marketers and publicity specialists. And so I started speaking at writers' conferences as a way to give back to the writer community, to teach about author brand, to teach about visual identity, to teach about marketing, and really loved connecting with writers in that way.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Now, I read also on your web page that you've done a lot of work for the Mars Corporation. Is that the one that you're with now, or that you were referencing? And most importantly, I just
do
want to
work for
know
Mars
that
Incorporated.
if you does that mean you get Milky Ways for life, or how does that work?
It is a wonderful, purpose-driven company in which at my office, there's a vending machine. Every slot is free. If you can tear yourself
what I'm
away from the
saying.
vending machine full of Snickers and
Oh,
Twix
my.
and Milky Way and Three Musketeers, right next to it is a freezer full of ice cream. Dove ice cream, M&M's ice cream sandwiches.
So it
kind of
is
frozen
treats
treats.
for life. What? Oh, that's beautiful.
These are custom M&Ms in the colors of my covers with my
Yes,
author
it is. I
logo.
recognize
Oh,
that.
fantastic.
Oh,
Wow.
oh, I love it.
People who meet me at personal events will get a little something sweet.
Oh, sweet little treat to go along with your book. I love it. Well, what is that where you've done like your marketing work, or you've shifted into AI work at the Mars Corporation?
So my career's been in digital transformation. And then also, once I got my MBA, I moved into marketing. And I spent years marketing brands, leading brand groups in on M&M's, Twix, Three Musketeers, Milky Way, Dove Chocolate in North America and in Asia. And I've also had roles in corporate strategy, insights, competitive intelligence. And as I was doing the corporate work, it led me full circle back to my initial career in digital. I was starting to govern digital transformation. And as I thought about myself really as a purpose-driven leader, I found this intersection of ethics and AI to be an area where I could really contribute. It's an area very interesting, fast changing, and of course has, implications for the author world as well.
Wow. How do you find time to write? Like you've got so much going on listening to that. Like it sounds like you stay very busy. You've earned your MBA. Like, how do you do it?
A lot of people ask that question. I have two answers. One, my debut novel, Goodbye Orchid, is dedicated to my husband, and he does so much to help me have an author life. He takes care of a lot of things around the household, and he says he does it to help me be the best person I can be. But the second answer is that first place we started, when I talked about the author why. That's not just advice I give to other authors, but it's advice I take myself. And when I asked myself that inspiring purpose question, why do I do what I do beyond the obvious profit and functional purposes? My answer is to inspire hope and empathy for people and planet. The writing helps me do that, but also the ethics of AI and other things like volunteering on boards for nonprofits.
Nice.
Fantastic. When you do sit down to write, can you talk us through what your writing process is like? Are you somebody who kind of maps everything out? Do you have an outline? What does your process look like?
Typically, I have a sense of the beginning and the end. So in the beginning, who are these characters? What makes them compelling? What's the conflict? What are they trying to overcome? What's keeping them from overcoming it, including their own internal misconceptions? And then I have a sense of where the story's going. I don't plot everything in between, although I have tried it before.
Okay.
And what I find is I discover along the way, and it happens quite organically from the characters and from what's true about the characters. And I find even if I were to plot in advance, that things would take me by surprise as I
absolutely.
go. And that the characters find a way to tell me where they think they should be going.
I find that fascinating. So you would probably categorize yourself as a pantser versus a planner, don't you think?
Yes, so I would say that's more pantsing, although I certainly admire plotting and think it makes sense from a conceptual standpoint. It just hasn't worked for me in a pragmatic way yet.
That's so funny. I think it just depends on how left-brained or right-brained people are. We talk to so many people, and we have some who absolutely strictly outline and have everything mapped out with the understanding, and they give themselves the freedom to discover and adapt as things go, because as we write, we're going to find new things that we want to incorporate. And then we have some who really don't plan anything, and then the wide variety in between. So I'm very, very fascinated by that. I like to ask everybody about it.
Well, Carol, you've got 4 books in the Goodbye Orchid trilogy, right?
4 books
You're
in the
working on
trilogy.
increasingly inaccurately titled trilogy. I know, one's a prequel.
Yes.
What next? Yeah, there you go. There's beautiful covers, by the way.
Yes.
Our
You can
daughter Katie created the graphic that we'll use with this podcast, and she texted me back and said, "Those covers are beautiful."
Yes, you should show. Yeah, please feel free to share those.
She said that. And there's also a hidden Easter egg design detail. So the shattered orchids are not only on the front, but on the bottom right corner of the page.
Love it.
They're going to appear to shatter.
Beautiful.
You get to the darkest points of the story, and then they visually come together. So there's a lot of hidden Easter egg design details. And this one as well, with the sprayed edges, with floral details, and full color interior.
Sprayed edges.
They're really stunning. So I've shifted now from the original 3-book trilogy, which was fictional, into nonfiction. My latest is memoir or true stories told in epistolary format. And I actually think it's allowing me to pivot genre a bit. And so I'm working on what the next concept is. I don't have a specific concept to be able to share, but I am sure that where my heart's going to go will need to be consistent with that desire to inspire hope and empathy for people and planet, to be able to have very deep meaning in it, even while the storytelling is page-turning and entertaining.
Yeah, perfect.
Fabulous.
Carol, this has been a treat. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Absolutely.
It's been wonderful. Nice seeing you both.
Nice to see you again.
See you again soon. Bye-bye. Just a few parting words. I believe that when this is released and you are listening to it for the first time, if you listen on the day, we will be on the WriterCon cruise. So I'm sorry, too late. But you know what is coming up? The WriterCon Retreat, July 15th through 19th, the Canbrake Resort, not far from Tulsa. We take a small group of people and spend 5 days with them, teaching, editing, interacting, critiquing, trying to give you direct one-on-one feedback about your books. And then, of course, the big event, the conference this year, again in Oklahoma City at the Skirvin Hotel. It's this year it's September 4th through 7th. That's right. It's Labor Day weekend. It always is. And I'm pretty excited about this. We have more headliners, more agents, more than we've ever had before. And it was pretty good before, but now it's going to be even better. Lara, what are you thinking about this year?
I want to add more badge ribbons. And
Right.
I am excited.
That is crucial.
That's what I'm thinking about right now. And already starting to think about what might go into the swag bags. And I'm just excited to meet some new people. It grows every year. I was blown away with some of the talent that found us last year. And I'm very hopeful that we will not only see all of the same friends again, but meet some new ones as well.
Yeah, exactly. So put that on your calendars. WriterCon is on Labor Day weekend, September 4th through 7th. And you can learn more about it at writercon.com. All right. Until next time, keep writing. And remember, you cannot fail if you refuse to quit. See you next time.